All right, Fierce FC 32 is in the books here from the Maverick Center immediately after all the action. Blake Arulian alongside my man Zach Partridge to get that immediate reaction. And Zach, we've been talking about it as we walked back here to the locker room. That was a really fun fight. For what was such a tough week in terms of matchups, it really turned out nicely.
I mean, I think that's what you can come to expect when you come to any Fierce event, that we are the type of show that we put on a lot of fights and a lot of fights every month and put on good cards. And one of the luxuries that we have is when we lose 6 fights in a week, basically.
8.
We're able to replace a couple and get it done. That, no matter what, even on a small card, the quality over quantity maybe sometimes. And so we were able to put together a really fun card for everybody that was in attendance and watched at home. And the fighters brought it. At the end of the day, they're the ones that make it happen, and they all brought it, all 16 of them, and it was a ton of fun.
It's going to be tough to decide this one, but one of the big fights that really flew off the film for me was the first, Mike Golian versus Zach Singer. Zach Singer had a lot of hype coming in. Mike Golian had the backing of those up in Layton, Utah, and Team Lincoln. Able to get the win as Mike Golian in this first fight of the evening.
I mean, I was really impressed with both of them. We knew Zach was coming very highly touted out of Syndicate MMA. Big athletic background, making his debut. He was a stud. Mike was super tough. I expected big things from both of them. Mike is a giant body. I mean, looks like a young Eric Eyman from Team Link. Very interested to see where he goes next. He talked to me in the cage. He wants to be back soon, which, is, I think, pretty exciting for Fierce fans. Zach Singer, though, he's, I think this is a fight that could really skyrocket him. Now he kind of knows where he needs to work, and I expect big things from both of these young heavyweights.
And also, talking about Singer, faced a lot of adversity in that first round with that cut above the eye, and it was kind of getting into his actual eye itself, and so he had to deal with that for an entirety of the fight. David Knudsen versus Austin Cardone, another fight of the night contender. That one goes to the decision. The leg kicks of Knudsen comes out on top, but Austin Cardone did not go down without a fight.
It was a really good fight. I mean, hats off to David, right? He took that fight on, I think, 6 days notice, 7, 8. Right around a week, made his debut, got all of his blood work in, in a day, shout out to Doc Murdoch, his shirts, and helping us with our medicals. Best medical team, around. Super grateful for them. And then that allowed David to come in, put on a show with Austin. Austin, we saw his power and in March. And, he hurt David over and over, but David was super tough, game, and ready to go. Like, that was so fun. I think we have 2 really fun future welterweight prospects. They're going to be welterweights, That was just a short notice, so it was up at 180 for this fight. But, 2 really fun welterweights.
Both fighters threw absolute haymakers throughout the entirety of that fight. All right, at 145 pounds, Morgan College and Zach Hamilton. Morgan College, I think it's fair to say that when you looked on paper, it looked like Morgan College was going to be the underdog coming into this one. He's able to come out victorious with a submission win in the first round.
I mean, we talked about it. Morgan is much better than his record. Very tough, very well-rounded. Showed a lot of success and good things against Cross. I expected him to come out very tough, and to be honest, like I think Zach can perform better than he showed. Like we know. Zach's a good, tough fighter. I think that was just a case of, being off for over a year. Like there is just areas that I'm sure him and his team will clean up. I'm sure I'd really like to see both of them back in there pretty soon.
Malachi Novosel getting the best of Michael Lizalde in this one. Another triangle that's kind of becoming his signature move, it seems like.
I mean, Malachi, the way he set it up was beautiful. It was so nice. I mean, we could see it coming because we know it, right? And, hats off to Lizalde. First of all, that's a featherweight taking a 155 fight on basically a week's notice as well. Coming up 1-1 versus 7-5. and I told Michael, so many amateur fighters especially are so worried about protecting their record that they don't jump on opportunities. And an opportunity doesn't mean an opportunity to win. Yes, it does, but it's also an opportunity to grow and get better, which that's what amateur fights are for. Big respect to Michael Izalde, who he's somebody that he wants to go pro and wants to go far in this sport. You only grow and get better by challenging yourself and doing all sorts of things, fighting up a weight class, short notice, things like that, and then coming in and fighting really hard. Malachi had a really good head and arm triangle at one point. Michael found a way to fight out of that. Those are experiences and building moments that he can build off of. Malachi coming off of a longer layoff for him after being so active last year, gets the win, and then hopefully we'll see Malachi and Talon rebooked very soon.
Cannot wait for that one. And like kind of just piggybacking off of that, I talked about it when he was walking out, but you go for Michael Izalde, who faced two guys with 0-1 records, or 1-0 records, I apologize, to facing Malachi Novosel, who has 12 fights, his 13th fight here tonight. I mean, absolute hats off to him. All right, we move over to the main card. Vince Wright besting Rourke Hodgson with that highlight finish. And I'm just going to say it here as well. We couldn't see it. Tyler Tomlinson was complete. None of the broadcast could see it. But when we saw the replay, it was absolutely one of the most spectacular finishes of the year.
I'll lead off with this. Rourke Hodgson's axe kick to start it off was insane. Super skilled way, but it was interesting. Vince is a guy that trains with us. He calls himself a bantamweight, and right there, it's like he hits hard. Man, when he's at 145 pounds, when the matchup is right, I really like him at featherweight. He's good everywhere. He's well-rounded everywhere. He, weathered that. I mean, he got cracked with that axe kick. He stayed composed, clinched, wrestled, got it to where he was. But man, when he landed that hammer, he put him out and ended with the, super necessary Jorge Masvidal till Tyler Tomlinson stopped the fight. So, good for him for, doing his job till the fight's over. And, I feel for Rourke a little bit where it's always hard to see a fighter after when he keeps asking, what happened and stuff like that. But I mean, for somebody at 45 years old to come out and to do what he did, to be in the shape that he was in, he was prepared, he was ready, and he came out to fight. And, tip my hat to Rourke, and exciting first pro win for Vince Wright.
I don't know if I've ever seen a referee, at least at Fierce, run the way Tyler Tomlinson did to get in between Vince Wright and Rourke Hodgson. That was some Herb Dean type sprinting.
It was. I mean, but it happened so fast.
It was so fast. It was literally a blinding shot, and so able to get that win. Colton Keniston and Brandon Hansvik, another fight of the night contender. They go all 15 minutes, and Brandon Hansvik comes out victorious.
Yeah, I mean, it was a super close fight. Not that my scorecard matters. I had it the other way. But I thought it was super close, and I can see it. Colton almost got the 10-8 round in the second round. I know on the judges' scorecards that was razor thin and very close to a 10-8, which would have made a draw. It's interesting, right? I've always been one. I would love to do podcasts or something with refs or judges to watch a fight with them to see how they score it and why they score it the way that I did, or with the way that they did. And so, because I think it just creates clarity on what they're looking for, which just helps everybody. But at the end of the day, I think for Colton and Brandon, they can both be very proud of the performance they put on. Super entertaining fights, I thought. Super entertaining fight, a lot of heart, really fun. I mean, I would, it was fun enough, like I'd watch those guys fight again. I thought it was really fun.
I was talking to someone immediately after the show, and he said to me, when you don't have the star power that these other Fierce shows have had, we had a lot of big names drop off. It's the fights where the fighters show their heart that really entertain and get the crowd going. The Maverick Center was on the edge of their seat for that fight.
Yeah, it was fun. It was entertaining. And dude, if you aren't anything in fighting and you can only be one thing, make sure you're entertaining. So.
All right, we move up to the land of the heavyweight. Zeke Latu taking care of Luis Cortez inside the first round. An emotional win for him after dropping his last two in a row. Luis Cortez, you mentioned it right before we turned on the camera, but Luis Cortez, he looked as good as he's ever looked.
vintage Luis Cortez. I was there. I fought on the card when Luis Cortez fought Ben Moa and Ben knocked him out, and it just never really seemed like Luis regained his form after that. I think we saw a flash of it a little bit against Cam Chisholm where he tried, but they both looked like confident fighters that looked like they were on winning streaks, not coming in on losing streaks. Usually fighters that are on losing streaks, you see some hesitations, you see some things. Luis was composed. Zeke was composed. Their footwork was incredible. Two giant human beings and athletes that were moving like 155ers, 170ers, like the fluidity of that fight, but then the power that they were both swinging with. And Luis, when he blitzes in like that, he's has a history of knocking people out doing that, and you're sitting there holding your breath. And then, Zeke caught him with a short left, put him down, did his job. But I mean, while I was so happy for Zeke to get that win, I was so happy for Luis, and I went in the cage and I just want him dude, if Luis fights like that losing streak will end very soon and he will start stacking up wins again. I wholeheartedly believe that Luis Cortez turned a corner. Whatever he changed, if he sticks to that, he can get going. Super happy for Zeke getting on a winning streak. Now let's see if he can start stacking up some W's and see where he goes.
Speaking of stacking up W's, Jared Vanderaa gets his first back-to-back wins since before his days in the UFC in 2020. Wow. Jared Vanderaa once again defends his heavyweight title opposite Eric Iman, submitting him in the first round.
I mean, Jared did what he was supposed to do, right? I mean, Eric, I think he had a good camp and he believed in it. I just think, he's 45. The only thing that's undefeated in sports is father time. Everybody's going to hear me say that forever, especially in this. And it's like, you're 45. Jared's a stud and a former UFC fighter. And I just thought that Jared was, I don't know just executed perfectly. Imposing, right? Just took the fight where he wanted it quick, got it there, kind of wore him down. You could tell he wasn't ready to burn his arms out on that choke either. He was very content to just make Eric carry his weight. And he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Turns out those guys are pretty good at submitting people in chokes. He's 2-0 here at Fierce now with two finishes by choke. I know everybody is going to be very eager to see him and Kent run it back. Jared had just informed me that he already has another fight in a couple of weeks. So good for him. His goal is to get back to the UFC and be active, not be the Fierce FC champ, right? So we love having Jared here, but we'll see what happens. I think we'll see. Either way, we're going to see Kent fighting again very soon. We'll just see if it's Jared or not.
Cannot wait for it. 8 fights, a really, really fun card.
By the way, great career, Eric Iman.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
I freaking love Eric. We love Eric. I'm so happy that, if that's it, he's done. That we, main event, Maverick Center, heavyweight title fight against an ex-UFC vet, formidable opponent. It's all good, man. Eric's a stud. I'm happy for him.
He mentioned he'll keep commentating, and Eric, personally, as someone who calls fights with you, please keep commentating. You do an incredible job, and we cannot wait to have you back. Zach, this card was so much fun. Honestly, a great amount of time. I mean, it's 9 o'clock right now. Show ended about 30 minutes ago. There's a lot to look forward to on June 15th as well. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I mean, June. Obviously, you want bigger cards, bring bigger crowds, losing the fights that we did. I mean, think of the talent that we lost off this card. Joel Haro, Mikey Sear. Probably one of the best regional main events of the year at any show. Ryder Campos pro debut. We lost Ammon Garcia, Talon Carvalho off the card.
Chris Ventura.
Not as well known, but he'll be well known soon. It was just a bummer, the ones that we lost, but at the same time, the ones that showed up, they showed up and showed out, and what more can you ask for?
Warehouse 22, I know you're looking forward to it.
Holy cow, we got the Mamone brothers. We got Hector Lopez's pro debut. We got Melody Schrock defending her title that is so overdue. We have all these super fun matchups. The return of Taylor Mafaleo in Utah. Hasn't fought in Utah in years. Kent's little brother. I cannot wait for Warehouse 22. It's going to sell out. I would definitely, if you are interested in seeing a super fun night of a bunch of star-studded amateur fights, June 15th, Warehouse 22, Syracuse, Utah. There's less than a couple hundred tickets left available. Don't wait, because when it sells out, it's just sold out, and the vibe in there is going to be awesome.
Going to be absolutely electric. We will see you all in 2 weeks. Zach, another great show. Cannot wait for the next one. Thank you so much.